I'm Ellen, and today I'm going to show you how to set up OAuth for Slack using Dark. You need to set up OAuth for Slack whenever you want to build a Slack application that other workspaces are able to use. Once you've added your features and functionality, tested it out in your workspace, if you want to distribute it, you have to set up the OAuth flow. Slack has great documentation on this. This chart's a good overview, but what happens is your potential user clicks on a link, they authorize your application to install in their Slack instance. You exchange that authorization grant for an access token, and then you store that token to be able to take future actions. So let's get started doing that. You can see that when we come to the Manage Distribution page, which is the same place we would go if we clicked on this link, we can see that we need to add a redirect URL to be able to handle that exchange and receive the authorizations. So let's add a redirect URL. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to point it at Dark to do this business logic. And so you can see here, I have a Dark canvas at ellen-slack OAuth. And I'm just going to name the route OAuth redirect to be clear. I'll add that and I will save it. Great. So now when I go back to manage distribution, I have the shareable URL, and when I open it in the browser, I am able to allow the application, but I get a 404. So what you can see here is what happened is we tried to receive the authorization grant, but we haven't actually written client logic yet to exchange that for the token. When we come into Dark, we can see here that we have this route, and when we create it, we can see the code that was passed in the query params right here. So let's pull that out first. Okay, so next step of this is we have to handle the exchange for the access token, which is steps 3 and 4. So when you go to steps 3 and 4, we can see that they have specific method documentation for being able to do this. So I'm just going to switch to that. And so what we're need to do is we're going to need to call this method. So let's grab that. And we're going to need to specify that we are passing in a form content type. So let's just put that in our header, form content type. And it's going to be a post method, so we'll use an HTTP client post. So let's set up that call. You can see here we know what parameters we need, so we actually already grabbed our URL, so we can get that. We'll have a body, we'll have some query, and then we already made our header. So we're almost good to go. So then we go down, the arguments that we need to pass are our client ID, our client secret, and our code. So we have our code. Client ID, client secret, and we can get our client ID and our client secret from our basic information when we first started our application. Let's grab our client ID. And our client secret, and I'm just putting them in line so this would be quick, but normally I would put them elsewhere so I could call them repeatedly. Great. And so now when we do this, we should receive a response, which we do. We'll receive an access token. So let's store that. And last piece, we're going to want to store our tokens. Personally, I like to store them by team ID, so then it's easy if someone reinstalls the application. You can get the new token. Depending on the permissions of your application, you might have other things that you want to store, but in this case, it's a pretty simple test application. And our response, we're just getting back an access token, and we could store our scopes if we wanted to. So let's db set. And token, access token. Yep. And then let's just store them by team ID and put them into our tokens data store. Play. Great. And so now what we have is we have something set up where when someone authorizes our application, we exchange the code that we receive for a token, and then we store that token for later use by team ID. And let's just let them know, successfully installed application using OAuth. I guess they don't need to know it's OAuth. Successfully installed application. And that's all we have to do. Thanks for watching.